to the State of Tech, the European edition. I'm Samantha Lawrence.
And I'm Bob Russell. Today, Anthropic launches a massive AI cybersecurity initiative called Project Glasswing. Japan pours billions more into its homegrown AI chip ambitions. Harvard cracks a quantum computing error problem with AI. Intel goes ultra-thin with gallium nitride chiplets for AI hardware. DeepSeek's upcoming V4 model puts China's chip independence to the test. And Alibaba's new video AI might just blow your mind. Let's start with cybersecurity.
So Anthropic has officially launched something called Project Glasswing. And this is fascinating, Bob, because it takes an AI model that was considered too risky to release, their Mythos model, and deploys it specifically to defend against cyber attacks.
This is a really significant move. Mythos was essentially kept under wraps because it demonstrated advanced hacking capabilities. Anthropic looked at that and said, okay, instead of burying this, let's point it in the other direction. Use those same capabilities to find vulnerabilities before the bad guys do. And they've got $100 million in funding behind it.
And look at the partner list. Google, Microsoft, AWS, JP Morgan Chase, NVIDIA. That's basically a who's who of tech and finance. When you see competitors like Google and Microsoft both signing on to the same project, you know the threat they're trying to address is serious.
The idea is proactive defense. Instead of waiting for an attack and then patching things up, Glasswing continuously scans for software vulnerabilities across digital infrastructure. It's like having a world-class burglar test your locks every single day, except the burglar works for you.
I love that analogy. But here's the tension, right? You're deploying an AI that's really good at hacking, defensively. That's a thin line.
It is, and that's where the governance piece becomes critical. Anthropic has built in oversight structures, and the partnerships include accountability frameworks. But you're right to flag it.
Now for Europe, this lands in a very interesting spot. European businesses and critical infrastructure are constant targets for cyber attacks. The energy sector, financial systems, hospitals, they've all been hit hard in recent years.
And European companies could potentially access Glasswing's capabilities through those partnership channels. Google Cloud, AWS, Microsoft Azure all operate heavily in Europe. So the technology could flow into European cybersecurity stacks relatively quickly.
But then you've got the regulatory question. The EU AI Act classifies AI used in critical infrastructure and security as high risk. Regulators are going to be watching this very closely. How do you govern an AI whose core skill is essentially hacking?
It's going to be a test case. If Glasswing proves effective and manageable, it could actually shape how the AI Act gets interpreted for defensive security applications. Europe might end up writing the rulebook for how this kind of AI gets deployed responsibly worldwide.
Let's head to Japan. The government has just approved another $4 billion in subsidies for Rapidus. That's the state-backed chip startup aiming to produce 2-nanometer chips by 2027.
And this brings the total government commitment to about $16.3 billion by March 2027. That is an enormous sum for a company that hasn't produced a single commercial chip yet. Japan is making a massive strategic bet here.
The ambition is clear, though. Japan used to be a semiconductor powerhouse. They dominated in the 80s and 90s. But they lost ground to TSMC, Samsung, and others. Now, with AI driving unprecedented demand for cutting-edge chips, Tokyo sees a window to get back in the game.
2-nanometer is the frontier. TSMC is working on it, Samsung is working on it, and Intel is working on it. For Rapidus to hit that target by 2027 would be remarkable. Skeptics say it's too ambitious, but the Japanese government clearly thinks the strategic risk of not trying is worse.
And this isn't just about pride, it's about national security and supply chain resilience. If you depend entirely on Taiwan for your most advanced chips and tensions escalate in that region, you've got a serious problem.
For Europe, this should feel like looking in a mirror. The European Chips Act has similar goals: build domestic capacity, reduce dependence on Asian foundries. But the funding levels are different. Japan is going extremely aggressive with Rapidus specifically.
It raises the question of whether Europe is moving fast enough. The CHIPS Act earmarked 43 billion euros, but that's spread across the entire ecosystem. Japan is concentrating massive resources on one company with one clear target.
European policymakers might look at Tokyo's approach and consider whether more focused bets could accelerate progress. Either way, the global race is intensifying, and Europe can't afford to fall behind.
Quick interruption. If you listen to The State of Tech regularly, hit that like button and subscribe. That way you'll never miss an episode. Okay, moving on.
Harvard researchers have built something called Cascade, a neural network-based decoder that slashes error rates in quantum computing. And the numbers are pretty staggering.
Tell me the numbers.
It processes data up to 100,000 times faster than standard error correction techniques, and it's reduced errors by factors of several thousand in benchmark tests. But here's the really exciting part. They've discovered what they call the waterfall effect.
Which is what exactly?
Once error rates drop below a certain threshold, they fall off much more steeply than anyone predicted. Think of it like a cliff edge rather than a gentle slope. And the implication is huge. It means we may have been overestimating how many qubits you need to achieve useful quantum computing.
So the timeline for practical quantum computers could be shorter than we thought?
Potentially significantly shorter. If you need fewer qubits because your error correction is dramatically better, then the hardware requirements become more achievable with today's or near-future technology.
Europe has significant quantum programs running. The EU Quantum Flagship has been funding research across the continent for years. This kind of breakthrough, even though it comes from Harvard, is openly published science. European teams can build on it.
And they should move fast. If Cascade's approach can be integrated into European quantum hardware projects, it could leapfrog some of the engineering challenges that have been slowing things down. The error correction bottleneck has been one of the biggest obstacles. This cracks it open.
It's a reminder that in fundamental research, breakthroughs anywhere benefit everyone, if you're ready to act on them.
Intel Foundry has unveiled the world's thinnest gallium nitride chiplet. Now, gallium nitride, GaN, isn't new, but making it this thin and integrating it into AI chip architectures, that's a breakthrough.
Okay, for listeners who aren't materials scientists, why does this matter?
Power. AI data centers are energy monsters. They consume enormous amounts of electricity and generate massive amounts of heat. GaN is far more efficient than traditional silicon at converting and managing power. Less wasted energy, less heat, higher performance.
So this is Intel trying to solve the infrastructure problem behind AI, not just the computing problem.
Precisely. And by making it a chiplet, a modular component, it can be integrated into larger chip packages alongside other processors. Intel is positioning itself as what they call a systems foundry. They want to build the complete toolkit for AI hardware, not just individual processors.
From a European perspective, this connects directly to the energy conversation. European data centers are expanding rapidly, and energy costs here are generally higher than in the US. More efficient power management components could make AI infrastructure more economically viable in Europe.
And it could spark European research into advanced materials. There are excellent material science programs across Europe, in Germany, the Netherlands, France. If GaN becomes the standard for AI power management, there's an opportunity for European innovators to contribute to that supply chain rather than just buying from abroad.
The anticipation around DeepSeek's V4 model is building. And Bob, the interesting thing isn't just the model itself, it's the chips behind it.
This has become a proxy battle for something much bigger. Everyone wants to know, did DeepSeek train V4 on American-designed chips, or did they use Huawei's domestically produced alternatives? Because the answer tells you a lot about how effective U.S. export restrictions actually are.
If V4 performs at a world-class level and it turns out to have been trained on Chinese-made chips, that's a seismic signal. It would mean China has made real progress toward AI self-sufficiency, despite all the sanctions.
And if it still relies on older NVIDIA hardware or smuggled chips, that tells a different story, that the restrictions are biting, but China is finding workarounds. Either way, the geopolitical implications are significant.
For European tech companies, this geopolitical chess match creates real headaches. If you're building AI products, your supply chain probably touches both American and Chinese technology. And the rules keep shifting.
Europe's push for strategic autonomy in semiconductors is partly about escaping this exact dilemma. You don't want your AI capabilities dependent on either side of a tech Cold War. Diversifying supply chains and building domestic capacity isn't just nice to have. It's becoming essential.
Okay, let's end on something fun. Alibaba has dropped a new AI video model called Happy Horse. And honestly, Bob, the name alone makes me smile.
Happy Horse. You've got to love Chinese tech naming conventions sometimes. But don't let the playful name fool you. This model is setting new benchmarks in AI video generation. We're talking about creating realistic, coherent video from text prompts, and apparently it handles temporal consistency really well.
For the non-technical folks, temporal consistency means things don't randomly morph or glitch between frames. A person walking stays the same person. A cup on a table doesn't teleport. That's been one of the hardest problems in AI video.
And Happy Horse appears to have cracked it at a level beyond what we've seen before. The creative possibilities are wild. Imagine a small European production company that normally can't afford big video shoots. Suddenly, they can generate broadcast-quality footage from a text description.
That's the exciting part. But there's a flip side. Deepfakes, misinformation, copyright questions. If anyone can generate any video of anything, how do you trust what you see?
It's the classic dual-use problem. And this is where Europe's AI Act has a role to play. Transparency requirements, watermarking, clear labeling of AI-generated content, these are all things the regulation addresses. Europe might actually be better prepared than most regions to handle this wave.
I just want to see a Happy Horse video generated by Happy Horse. Is that too much to ask?
I'm sure someone's already made one.
All right, that's our show. Today we covered Anthropic's Project Glasswing turning dangerous AI into a cyber shield, Japan's massive chip bet on Rapidus, Harvard's quantum error breakthrough with Cascade, Intel's ultra-thin gallium nitride chiplets, DeepSeek's V4 and the China chip question, and Alibaba's delightfully named Happy Horse video model.
Want to know more or react? Visit stateoftech.eu or email us at info@doorzetters.net. State of Tech. The tech world in 15 minutes.